All right, we got to touch on Stephen A. Smith, friend of the channel. Stephen A. Smith recently joined Joe Budden on his podcast, and Joe Budden asked Stephen A. Smith how he feels about some of the stories that sort of surround the exit of Max Kellerman from First Take. And Stephen A. Smith owned up to the role that he played in Max Kellerman being booted from First Take. So we've talked, we like to pay attention to sports media on this channel. We find it interesting. So we don't necessarily comment on the comments that these people make, but we do like to. Okay, yeah, now I am noticing a lag whenever I share the videos. So we don't like to necessarily comment on these individuals' takes. We more so like to comment on the shows and the production of these shows themselves. So Joe Budden asked Stephen A. Smith about First Take and the circumstances surrounding Max Kellerman no longer being there, and this is what Stephen A. Smith had to say.
What do you say to the people that say they saw the tension between you and Max developing on air before his departure from the show? Did you hear any of that?
I heard some of it. I would take full responsibility for that. That's totally my fault.
Okay.
And the reason why it was my fault, because I didn't like working with him, man. It's just that damn simple. I didn't like it. I thought the show was stale. I thought that we had flatlined when it came to the public at large, and I'm trying to win. I mean, I didn't want to go from number one to number two when Skip left. That's not what I wasn't having. That shit was not going to happen.
Did anything in the numbers say that you might have been headed that way?
No, but to me it did.
Creatively.
To me it did, not just creatively, but the consistency of the number.
Got it.
In other words, it wasn't going this way.
Yeah.
It was just there. And not only that, it's like us being in this room right now. Come on, y'all. Y'all know the difference between something that's stale and something you pumped up for. You just know.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I was feeling. And it was like, listen, I had mad respect from him from the standpoint that white dude, highly intelligent, Ivy League educated from Columbia, smart as a whip, can talk his ass off, can talk about anything. And I get all of that. But you weren't an athlete and you weren't a journalist. And the absence of the two components left people wondering, why should we listen to you? Okay, well, you might have had that figured out on Sports Nation, or you might have had that figured out on another show. But on this show, if you looked at the content emanating in the social stratosphere, meaning YouTube and other components that you use to measure one's cachet, Q ratings, focus groups, all of these different things, it was like I was damn near doing the show by myself because we were oceans apart in terms of cachet. Well, how are you oceans apart from me if you sit right across from me 5 days a week for the whole 2 hours? Because one of us is resonating and one of us is not. And
wow,
man, they were oceans apart. Oceans apart.
Wow.
I'll go ahead and start with this one.
Go for it.
So it's seeing stuff like this that informs me that I am simply not the target market for any of these shows. I exist. I might watch these. I might watch these shows, but I firmly believe that I exist outside of the target market for these shows. Because when people like Stephen A. Smith talk about the supposed audience and what they want, there's a disconnect between me and that audience. I don't fit in with that audience, clearly, because I am someone who believes that show has been worse since Max Kellerman was kicked off. Honestly, I do. I truly do. So, maybe I'm tripping, okay? So let me ask you, as someone who also consumes sports content, I'm gonna just list off a bunch of names of people who are on First Take on a regular basis, and I'm gonna ask you whether you think those people are more interesting to listen to, or who do you prefer to watch on television more, them or Max Kellerman? Okay, so let's
Hilarious.
start with Dan Orlovsky. So
Max.
who do you think is more interesting, Max or Dan Orlovsky?
Max. It's not even close.
Okay, who do you think is more interesting, Max or Chris Russo?
Max.
Who do you think is more interesting, Max or Mina Kimes?
Max.
Who do you think is more interesting, Max or Marcus Spears?
Max.
That's what I'm saying. Who do you think is more interesting, Max or who else do they bring on there? Max or Jeff Saturday?
Oh, Max. What's the other dude they bring on there? It's the black dude.
Ryan
With the
Clark.
glasses. Nah, he with the glasses, big dude. I forgot. He be on there with Shannon and be on there now and stuff too. I forgot bro name. But
Big black dude.
Canty.
Oh yeah. What about you? Think who's more interesting?
I would take Canty over Max.
Okay,
I think that guy's
And
really good.
would you take Shannon Sharp over Max?
Yeah.
Okay, I would too. So that's 2 out of how many that I just mentioned here. Who do you think is better, Max on television, Max or Ryan Clark?
Max. I don't want to hear Ryan Clark.
So like, and listen, no shade against any of those people that I mentioned. I'm just trying to juxtapose Max Kellerman to what they contribute to those shows. In my opinion, Max brought more intelligence and nuance to First Take, which is something that the show needed in lieu of Skip Bayless, who was just a gas bag who just threw flames all day, every day. So, according to Stephen A. Smith, though, Stephen A. Smith says that the audience didn't resonate with Max, or rather, Max didn't resonate with the audience. So, clearly, there's a disconnect, and I am not a part of the audience because when I watch First Take now, except when Shannon Sharp is there, and Shannon Sharp is brand new, he just got there like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I feel like the quality of the show has deteriorated. But I am someone who prefers to consume nuanced, intelligent content. This is why I've gravitated more towards Fox shows, with the exception of Undisputed. I think Undisputed has become a clown show. But those other shows on Fox, to me, are far better, far smarter. Colin Cowherd, Speak, First Things First. All 3 of those shows are better than anything that comes on ESPN, in my opinion. And it's like, what are we doing here? So I guess I'm just disconnected from the audience. I don't really necessarily have an analyzation of what Stephen A. Smith is saying here. You know, obviously he's following along with this stuff, right? So if he says he looked at the numbers and saw that it had flatlined and that he contributed most of that to Max because he feels like Max was the reason why it had flatlined, then fine. He's looking at this stuff. I'm not. But I don't agree with that. So I guess I don't agree with the audience because I feel like the show has gotten worse. It's dumber. It's more gas baggery. It's louder. It's less smart. You just got a bunch of people on there just talking and not being nuanced. And it's annoying. It's like the whole show has become a parade of Kendrick Perkins every day, except when Shannon Sharp is there. Because they'll just give these takes that are lacking in any kind of nuance. And it's as simple as, you know, quarterback won more games, so quarterback is better. Or quarterback puts up these numbers, so quarterback is MVP candidate. And the rest of these lazy arguments that these people come up with and get paid handsomely to deliver on television. So, you know, it's unfortunate. I guess my summation, if you will, is that it's unfortunate that the audience of First Take felt as though Kellerman was dragging the show down. That's pretty much all that I can say. If I'm to take Stephen A. Smith at his word, if I'm to believe what Stephen A. Smith is saying, you know, it's unfortunate that the audience felt as though the drag on this thing was Kellerman, because in my opinion, the drag on it now is everybody else that they put on there, except for Shannon Sharp, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know what the numbers look like after he left, you know, they're probably gonna report it to be higher or whatever. They're probably
Yeah, according to Stephen A. Smith, it's going back up, and they're number one and killing everything again. But at the same time, I think part of that has to also do with the fact that Undisputed now is demonstrably worse. So it might be it might be a combination of two things going on at the same time, like new people being on the show, but also Undisputed being noticeably worse.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't take it. When they have the ensemble cast, it's wild when Molly becomes a highlight of the show. And it's like, I'd rather hear what Molly got to say, because she'll interject and say some real shit every once in a while, or make the segment interesting, because these people are so boring. So I can't stand it. There's not much, like you said, there's not much nuance to the conversation. Max brought that. He's kind of nerdy in the Nick Wright kind of way. He can get in there and debate. He's a good debater. Because right now it looked like Stephen A. and Shannon just skipping and holding hands the whole goddamn time. And it's just like, it's not that I want to see this, but it's supposed to be a sports debate show, is it not? And but it's just a weird energy they got going on. I think Shannon got to get settled in, but I don't really care for this either. I think his notion or his thought process is that he's box office and that Max is not. But I looked at it as a good Batman and Robin, a good ketchup and mustard, situation where it's just like, okay, well, they go together, but they work. I thought it worked.
Me too.
So for them to bring all these other people in and just, give them, all this other stuff, I couldn't stand it. It became unbearable. And so especially the NBA stuff, it was just, I mean, nobody knows anything. So I don't care. I never weighed in that Max never played any sports or did any of that stuff. Whenever he opened his mouth, he ain't say nothing dumb. Even if I disagreed with him, it was still a good talking point.
Mm-hmm.
So so I always was a fan of his. But for this to happen, and then for him to get removed from ESPN completely, all of this was a shock. I feel like he's a talent. And so, hopefully Fox picks him up or something like that. But, Stephen A. just talking about, straight up, he just saying like the brother and all this other stuff. And it was like, damn, boy, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's wild.
Yeah.
And so it comes off real I egotistical, but you don't make it to Stephen A.'s stature. You don't make it as far as he done made it if you don't have that seed in you. And it's clearly within him. And he'll windmill all over Max 1, 2, or 3 times just so he can stay in that spot. So if somebody's that slime, no wonder he's way at the top of the food chain when it comes to this media stuff, because he plays it just as vicious as anybody else. That's why as soon as anybody comes to him, he has this excuse me type of moment on his own little show where he's letting everybody know, oh, I don't give a damn. I'll play dirty. You know what I'm saying? I'm a vulture. You know what I'm saying? I am a piranha in these waters. So that's the type of mode he got, and that's the kind of energy that was sitting on that couch dunking all over Max. So Stephen A., he's a character. I can't lie. He is entertaining. If I do want to get a good laugh, he's providing that for me lately. So it's kind of funny stuff he's been doing.
Yeah. Oh, and he most certainly leans into his egotism now more than ever. Mm-hmm. Pretty much on a daily basis on the show, mm-hmm. They'll get tangential, and somehow he'll start talking about how much of a draw he is, or his connections, or how he's in the suite, or how he's on the private jet, or he's really leaning into his egotism more now than ever, because the show belongs to him now more than ever. I didn't finish playing that whole clip because it was about 4 minutes long, but towards the end, he talks about how he knew he didn't have the power to get rid of Max, but he had access to the people who did have the power to get rid of Max. And he basically gave those people an ultimatum. I don't want to work with Max anymore. So either Max can stay on the show and I can move on, or we can just kind of go ahead and break up and go on our separate ways, and I can stay and Max can go. And then, I guess Stephen A. Smith is a greater, superstar, I guess. And they obviously made the move to get rid of Max. But I mean, it's weird. It's like none of that stuff factors into my thinking either. Like when I watch these shows, I don't care whether someone's an ex-athlete or a journalist or not. Do they sound knowledgeable on the things that they are saying? Do they make sense? Do they make salient points? And do they make me think about a particular topic in a way that I didn't think about it before? That's all I care about. Are you interesting in that way? And I always thought that he was. I loved it when they replaced, because after Skip left, they did that whole weird rotation thing too, before they settled on Kellerman being the permanent other debater. And I thought it was a great move. The show was great after that. And, then they did what they did. So I don't know. What do I know? Clearly nothing, because according to Stephen A. Smith, the show is as popular as it's ever been, and it's as big a ratings draw as it has ever been. So clearly I don't know shit. But when I tune in and I watch that stuff, as background noise while I'm working in my home office, there's nothing that makes me stop my work to be like, damn, that was some real insightful shit that they just had to say there. It's more so just, okay, more cookie cutter, run of the mill, media gas bagging mumbo jumbo. That's just kind of how I look at it now. So,
and you right about him getting real ego-ish on that show, because I done seen some little clips, multiple, of him eye humping Molly, like recently. So just type in Stephen A. looking at Molly. Y'all see the little clips of him, you know what I'm saying, taking a little double. But hey, bro, watch out before you get me too'd. You know what I'm saying? or email you doked. You know what I'm saying? From your little position, because yeah, you should see those clips, bro. Like, sheesh, it's like I don't know what's going on. The only thing she got to do is just holler foul, and he's out of there. So yeah, be careful, Stephen A., because that'll be a dumbass reason to lose your job.
It would be, and he bet not believe that he is above that, because no one is above that. No one is above that machine. No one.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Steven.
Whatever. Shouts out to Fox and the good shows on Fox, man. 100.